Well, folks, as of today, August 30th, 1944, the Soviet offensive known as Operation Bagration has officially come to an end. Over a quarter of Germany's forces on the Eastern Front have been utterly annihilated by the Soviet onslaught, and the Red Army is moving ever closer to Berlin. After seeing all this, I imagine you folks at home might have some big questions. What's going on here? Wasn't Germany beating up on the Soviet Union just the other day? How did those Russians take so much German land? Those are all understandable inquiries, so let me explain what went on up at the Eastern Front. So let's begin with what led up to this operation. As some of you may know, the Soviets were able to fend off the invading Germans in Stalingrad and at the Battle of Kursk. Hitler's retreat from Russia opened up a great opportunity for a Soviet counterattack. Before Operation Bagration had been established, though, the Soviets had conducted a series of smaller counterattacks on German armies, and out of the three main German armies holding the Eastern Front, German Army Group South was most affected and weakened. Therefore, the Germans expected the Red Army to focus their efforts there. With this expectation in mind, however, in order to make this attack effective, the Soviets employed a tactic known as maskirovka, or camouflage, to deceive Germany into believing the Red Army was moving towards the south, when in reality, troops were being stockpiled near Army Group Central. Around 1.2 million personnel, 32,000 artillery pieces, around 6,000 tanks, and 8,000 aircraft had all been moved to Belarus without the Germans ever knowing. For the most part, this dwarfed the German Army Group Central's resources, as they only had around 850,000 personnel, 30,000 field guns, 500 tanks, and 600 aircraft to defend against the upcoming Red Army onslaught. By May 31st, 1944, Stalin approved Operation Bagration and final preparations began. Before the invasion actually began, though, there were other moving parts at play. Soviet partisans and Polish resistance members in German Belarusia sabotaged German railways, communication lines, supply lines, and more, making the Soviet attack even smoother than it was already going to be and wreaking absolute havoc and mayhem on German resources. On June 22, 1944, Operation Bagration officially began under the command of General Zhukov. Over the course of June 26 to June 29, the Soviets would absolutely steamroll German defenses and liberate the towns of Vitebsk, Mogilev, and Bobruisk, going so far as to capture 70,000 Germans. This was thanks to the newly implemented Soviet strategy called Deep Battle. Maskirovka wasn't the only Allied strategy at play. With Deep Battle, the main goal was to create breakthroughs at enemy lines by bombarding a specific group. This tactic was best employed in a static front line, where the Soviets would pick out one specific enemy unit and ferociously attack it with infantry and a supporting artillery barrage. When the enemy unit was finally forced to fall back, the Soviets would advance through the new gap in the line, eventually leading to the full encirclement and destruction of the entire enemy line. The geography of Eastern Europe also made the strategy so much better, as the flat, mountainous plains of Eastern Europe made for quick travel and transportation of infantry and artillery. All this combined led to a very strange and unusual dominance for Russia. It only gets better for the Red Army, though. The Soviets finally began encircling Minsk, the main objective of Operation Bagration. As Germany finally got a grasp of what was happening, they attempted to redeploy the 4th Army and the 9th Army to the front lines of Minsk. By this point, the Soviets controlled the skies, however, and promptly obliterated any incoming units. On July 3rd, the encirclement of Minsk was complete. The remaining German forces attempted to break out of encirclement numerous times, however, with every attempt ending in utter disaster. What? Huh? What is that? Oh. Well, it seems we've been given some new live details about the battle at Minsk. It seems German Lieutenant General Vinces Müller of the 4th Army was captured in one of the breakout attempts. Wow. That really shows how bad Germany was doing back there. Anyways, though, from July 4th to August 29th, the Red Army's march through Eastern Europe went mostly unopposed. Momentum created by Operation Bagration was so massive that most of Belarus ended up being liberated, much to the surprise of even Russian officers. Army Group Central was totally annihilated. Army Groups North and South were totally cut off from each other, ending Germany's presence in the Eastern Front. The only reason that the Red Army stopped was because their supply lines couldn't keep up, so the operation formally ended on August 30th, 1944. Throughout the conflict, Germany only produced an endless stream of failures. They were unprepared, poorly managed, and failed to strategize and look beyond what was directly in front of them. Overall, Germany lost 25 divisions and nearly 400,000 men, along with a huge amount of material lost, a blow Germany would never recover from. The Soviets had lost some significant manpower as well, with 100,000 men being killed and 500 either being wounded or ill. Despite the losses, though, the Soviets were the decisive victor of the conflict and made it far beyond their original objective of just recapturing Minsk. This victory was a major turning point for the Soviets and Germany, as it pushed the Red Army much closer to Berlin and demonstrated that Germany could no longer safely attack Russia. From now, it appears the war effort will be coming to a close soon as Allies move ever closer to Berlin. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. for more updates on the conflict.